Lean in. I must say something that may bruise your pride before it saves your future. You are not losing to failure. You are losing to talk. You announce dreams that are still in the cradle. You parade goals that haven't grown roots. You leak your power in conversations that feel important and produce nothing. And every time you do it, you trade progress for applause, momentum for approval, destiny for dopamine. That is the quiet reason your success keeps slipping through your fingers. Why describe a vision you haven't yet obeyed? Why ask for opinions from minds that have never built anything that lasted? Why announce a harvest when you haven't turned the soil? I will give you the law that the few obey and the many ignore. Move in silence, reveal in completion. Builders don't broadcast, they build. Kings don't explain, they execute. Leaders don't debate their direction with the crowd, they decide, and then they demonstrate. Understand how this works inside your own mind. Speech is not harmless. Speech tells your subconscious what to value. When you boast about outcomes you haven't earned, your mind gives you a counterfeit reward, an emotional ribbon for a race you haven't run. That early applause steals the hunger you need to finish. You feel as if you've climbed the mountain because you said you would, and so you stop climbing. Meanwhile, every public declaration invites interference. Doubt arrives disguised as advice. Be realistic. Slow down. Who do you think you are? If your vision is not yet anchored, those words crawl into your soil and root themselves where your courage should live. I learned this law from men the world calls great. Abraham Lincoln wrote in solitude, misunderstood, criticized, unmoved. John D. Rockefeller negotiated in quiet rooms, no headlines, just signed papers. Thomas Edison labored through thousands of failed attempts, no fanfare, only experiments. Henry Ford engineered systems in obscurity before the world could imagine the scale. None of them needed a trumpet. Their results made the sound. Hear me, silence is not timidity, silence is command. The undisputed do not audition. They decided do not request permission. The disciplined do not perform for opinions. They reserve their voice for two audiences only, their own subconscious and the work. They speak to install belief, and they act to make belief visible. From this hour, treat your words like currency, precious, limited, invested only where they multiply power. Keep your chief aim sacred. Etch it clearly. Read it morning and night. Declare it in private with emotion as if it were already done. Let your subconscious be the first witness and your completed work the first announcement. You ask, but isn't sharing my goal motivating? No, it is draining unless the sharing is strategic, inside a circle that sharpens you. Most updates are not accountability, they are anesthesia. You feel productive because you talked. You are not. Productivity is measured in completed steps, not completed sentences. Here is the structure you will adopt. Write the aim. One sentence, specific, measurable, dated, no fluff. This is not for social media. This is your marching order. Guard the chamber. Speak the aim only to yourself, and if you have one, a true mastermind. Men and women who build, not gossip. Command your state. Twice a day, speak the aim aloud with feeling. Your subconscious does not argue. It obeys repetition infused with emotion. Convert talk to time blocks. For every minute you want to explain, schedule 10 minutes to execute. Replace updates with output. Let the work talk. Reveal phases when they are done, not when you wish they were. The world cannot argue with evidence. You fear that silence will make you invisible. Good. The seed is invisible before it is undeniable. The oak does not announce its roots. It only appears one morning, taller than doubt. The sun does not submit a calendar. It simply rises. Do likewise. Plant deep, water daily, emerge when proof is unavoidable. Let me address the quiet urge inside you, the urge to be seen. It is natural, but visibility is a reward, not a requirement. When you chase being noticed, you become negotiable. When you chase completion, you become inevitable. I would rather you arrive without warning than arrive with excuses. Consider the energy you lose explaining. Every conversation taxes your willpower. Every "what are you working on" tempts you to spend fuel on stories. Learn the smile that ends questions. I'm working. That is enough. Keep your promise to the calendar, not the crowd. A word about doubt. It will come, and it will usually wear the face of someone you love. Do not hate them. Do not argue. Do not convert. Outgrow. Protect your aim the way a parent protects a newborn. Limited visitors. Clean environment. No handling by careless hands. When the child is strong, you'll open the door, not before. A word about pace. The silent builder is not slow. He is steady. He is early to his desk and late to his excuses. He moves bricks when others move lips. He chooses boredom over drama, process over praise, repetitions over reactions. He knows that routines are the scaffolding of greatness. Now install these lines in your nervous system. Speak them with me, slowly, as La Rue Sauve. I keep my aim sacred and my mouth disciplined. I do not announce beginnings, I deliver completions. I train my mind in private and prove my faith in public through results. I speak last, I act first. My work is my witness. Let me give you a practical drill for the next 7 days. Morning, 2 minutes. Stand tall, breathe deep, speak your aim as if it were already true. Visualize today's one non-negotiable action. Daytime, 90 through 2 must report what you finished. If you feel the itch to tell the world, write an email to yourself instead. Keep the fire in the furnace. Do this for a week and you will feel something unfamiliar. Quiet strength, not the sugar rush of applause, the steel of alignment. That is the sensation of power returning to its rightful owner, you. Before we pause, understand the warning in plain language. Premature speech is spiritual theft. It steals the force that should flow into action and spills it into the street. If you must speak, speak to the only two allies who can multiply you, your subconscious and your schedule. Everyone else can wait for the reveal. Now engrave the closing decree of Chapter 1. I am finished with performance. I am married to completion. I owe the world no explanations, only excellence. When my work is ready, it will speak for me, and it will speak loudly. Listen carefully now, because what I am about to give you is not theory. It is law. It is the difference between the man who talks about his future and the man who owns it. In this chapter, I will hand you 8 unshakable laws of purposeful silence. The code of kings, the discipline of builders, and the secret of every leader who ever left a mark that time could not erase. You've been taught that sharing your dreams will keep you accountable, that telling everyone what you're going to do makes you more likely to do it. That's not the truth. It's a trap. Talk too soon and you dilute your hunger. Speak before the roots are firm and you invite the winds of doubt to rip them out. These laws will protect you from that trap. If you love them, you will no longer scatter your energy. You will no longer waste your fuel. You will build in rhythm, in strength, and in power. Now let us begin. Law 1. Speak only when speaking advances the cause. Every word you spend should move the vision forward. If your words create clarity in your own mind, say them in private to yourself with intensity. If they drain your force, if they invite opinions, if they leak your power, keep silent. The world does not need your intention. The world needs your execution. Law 2, your vision is sacred. Treat it as sacred. Think of your dream as a newborn child. Would you hand that infant to anyone on the street? Of course not. You would guard it, protect it, and shelter it until it could stand on its own. Do the same with your vision. Share it only with builders, never with idle minds. Every careless ear is a thief. Every idle question is a crack in your fortress. Protect the seed until it becomes a tree. Law 3, private declaration, public demonstration. Your words belong to your subconscious, not to the crowd. Declare your goal daily in solitude. Burn it into your nervous system. Tell your subconscious what you demand from life until it has no choice but to believe. But let your public declaration be your finished product. When the work is ready, it will roar louder than any speech. Law 4, results first, explanation later. Premature explanation is a trap. The moment you say, I'm going to write a book, the mind tricks itself into feeling accomplished. The applause you receive is a false reward. But when you hand the world the finished book, when the proof is undeniable, then your silence has done its job. First results, then words. Law 5, guard against contagious doubt. Understand this. Most people do not doubt you out of malice. They doubt you out of habit. They live in the small room of realism. They call it wisdom, but it's fear wearing a suit, and fear is contagious. If you allow their words to enter, your subconscious will absorb them like poison. Guard your vision like a soldier guards a fortress. Keep it away from the infected. Law 6, discipline of the tongue creates discipline of the hand. A man who cannot control his speech cannot control his actions. When you withhold words, you sharpen willpower. Every time you bite back the urge to explain, you are training your nervous system to obey restraint. That same muscle of discipline transfers into your work. Silence strengthens the builder's hands. Law 7, let your calendar speak. Do not tell the world what you are building. Let your schedule reveal it. Every block of time executed faithfully is a brick laid in silence. In the end, the wall will stand tall, and no one will ask what happened. They will see. Your calendar is your creed. Your results are your reply. Law 8, silence multiplies power. Think of energy as water stored in a reservoir. Every time you talk without building, you open a crack and drain it. Every time you guard your silence, you keep the water rising and the pressure building. And when you finally release it through action, the force is unstoppable. Silence multiplies strength. Now, let me remind you, these are not suggestions. These are laws, and every man who ever rose obeyed them. Lincoln obeyed them. Rockefeller obeyed them. Edison obeyed them. Ford obeyed them. They did not announce. They executed. They did not leak energy. They stored it. They did not seek applause. They sought completion. And here is the truth most men never accept. Greatness is not built in the spotlight. Greatness is built in the shadows, when no one is watching, when no one believes, when no one claps. Your silence is not emptiness. It is incubation. It is the womb of creation. And when the time is right, the birth will speak for itself. So ask yourself now, have you been wasting your words? Have you been leaking your energy into empty conversations? Have you been trading applause for progress? If so, let this chapter mark the end. From this day forward, let your silence sharpen your power. Let your speech be rare, sacred, and purposeful. You speak too soon, and every time you do, you hand over the power that should have been yours. Let me tell you something that most men will never understand. Silence is not weakness. Silence is a weapon. It is a shield. It is a compass. And if you learn to use it, you will move through life with a force that no critic, no doubter, no failure can touch. Think about it. Every vision, every dream is fragile in the beginning. It is like a seed, tender and vulnerable. And yet what do most men do? They rush out into the streets and tell the world what they are building before the roots have even touched the soil. They expose it to wind, to tramplers, to the insects of opinion, and then they wonder why the seed never grows. But the wise man, he understands. He plants in silence. He guards his vision as though it were sacred fire, hidden, unseen, protected, until it is strong enough to rise on its own. Rockefeller built his empire this way. While his rivals bragged and shouted, he moved quietly, signing contracts behind closed doors, sealing acquisitions in silence. And by the time the world realized what he had done, it was too late. He had already won. His silence was his shield, his weapon, his edge, and silence can be yours too if you stop wasting it. When you refuse to explain yourself, when you stop asking others what they think, when you let your results speak instead of your promises, you create a pressure inside you. That pressure turns into intensity. That intensity turns into force. Think of Thomas Edison. He failed thousands of times, mocked and ridiculed. But did he run to every newspaper to explain? No. He worked in quiet, sharpening his sword. And when the light bulb finally burned, his silence cut through the darkness of centuries. Results speak louder than words ever could. Silence is also a compass. When you stop sharing your every step with people who cannot understand, you stop being pulled in 100 directions, you stop bending to their noise, you move in one direction toward your definite chief aim. That is why Henry Ford could withstand the laughter of his own engineers, men who told him his vision was impossible. Instead of defending, instead of explaining, he turned inward. His silence guided him. His silence kept him fixed on the impossible until the impossible became reality. His critics are dust now, but Ford remains. And let me tell you this, silence is a furnace. In solitude you are refined. In solitude you hear the voice of your destiny louder than the opinions of the world. That is why Abraham Lincoln spent his nights writing alone. That is why Andrew Carnegie built in deliberate quiet. That is why every great leader in history walked through a season of silence before walking into their season of triumph. Most men run from solitude. They fear it because in silence they are forced to face themselves. But the man who endures it, the man who learns to sit in the furnace, emerges with steel in his spine. So I ask you now, have you been wasting your weapon? Have you been throwing away your shield, dulling your sword, losing your compass, all for the sake of a little applause, a little attention, a little comfort? From this moment forward, I command you, protect your silence, guard it, let it sharpen you, let it guide you, let it defend you, and when the time comes, when the structure stands, when the fruit is ripe, let your silence roar, not with words, but with results, because no man can argue with results, and no man can deny a life built in silence, but revealed in power. Silence protects your vision, but silence without structure is only stillness. A seed may be safe in the soil, but without order, without discipline, without daily care, it will never grow. You see, greatness is not the product of random effort. It is not born from scattered bursts of energy or occasional inspiration. Greatness is structure. It is law. It is a rhythm repeated until it becomes nature. Most men fail, not because they lack ability, but because they lack order. They speak before they build, they rush before they prepare, and they promise before they have a foundation. And when resistance comes, as it always does, they crumble. Why? Because their house was built on sand. But the man who builds with structure, he is unstoppable. His foundation is deep and unshakable. His habits are his walls. His discipline is his roof, and his repetition is his fortress. Every day, brick by brick, decision by decision, he strengthens his frame. And by the time the storms arrive, he does not fold. He stands. Andrew Carnegie understood this truth better than anyone. Before the world knew his name, before he rose to build an empire of steel, he had already designed his structure. He wrote his definite chief aim. He mapped his alliances. He chose his inner circle with precision. Every step was deliberate, ordered, and aligned with his vision. His fortune was not luck, it was structure made visible. And let me tell you something powerful. Structure is not rigid. It is not a prison. Structure is freedom. Structure frees you from drift. It frees you from distraction. It frees you from the endless noise of indecision. Most men wander through their days without rhythm. They wake without a plan, move without aim, and speak without weight. And then they wonder why their life bears no fruit. But the man of structure, he rises with order. He commands his time. He directs his thoughts. He speaks with intention, and his world obeys him. Look at Charles M. Schwab, Carnegie's right hand. He was not the most brilliant man in the room, but he was disciplined. He created systems, built routines, and commanded output. His greatness was not in genius, but in consistency. When others hesitated, Schwab acted. When others delayed, Schwab delivered. His structure gave him strength. His order gave him authority. And what of Thomas Edison? Did his 10,000 failures break him? No, because each experiment was part of a structure. He documented, he studied, and he refined. His laboratory was not chaos, it was law in action. And because he obeyed the law of structure, his failures were not defeats, they were steps. Each one moved him closer. And when the light finally burned, the world saw not just invention, but structure revealed. You must understand this. Without silence, your vision is stolen. Without structure, your vision is wasted. You need both. Silence guards the seed. Structure grows it. So ask yourself now, what is your structure? Do you rise with purpose or drift with the crowd? Do you feed your subconscious with commands or let it starve on noise? Do you write your aim each day or do you trust memory and lose it in distraction? You must build your structure because without it, your silence will only remain silence. Here is the law. Write your definite purpose. Speak it aloud to yourself morning and night. Guard it in silence, but act upon it with structure. Create your rhythm, your daily law. Repetition is power, routine is power, structure is power, and the man who obeys it becomes unshakable. Do not think this is small, it is everything. The oak tree grows not from a single burst of energy, but from steady obedience to law, day after day, season after season. And so must you. Build your structure, sharpen your silence, align your habits with your vision, and when the storm comes, and it will, you will not fear it, you will welcome it. For you know your house is built on stone. Now listen carefully, for this may be the most important law of all. Once you plant the seed of your vision in silence, and once you begin to water it with structure, the world will notice something in you. They may not understand it, but they will feel it. And because they cannot see what you see, they will try to question it, weaken it, or even kill it before it grows. Understand this, most men will never understand your dream. Why? Because they have never built anything of their own. Their minds are bound to the visible, the immediate, and the ordinary. You, however, are building in the invisible. You are shaping something that does not yet exist, and that makes your vision sacred. That makes it vulnerable. Every careless word you speak of your dream is like handing your seed to a stranger. They will not protect it. They will not water it. They will trample it with their doubts, smother it with their fears, and cover it with the dirt of their own mediocrity. You must learn to guard your vision the way a farmer guards his seed, protected, hidden, and nurtured in silence until its roots are deep enough to withstand the storm. Do not take it personally when people doubt you. They are not always your enemies. Many times they are simply unconscious, trapped in their own limitations. But hear me well, unconsciousness is contagious. Spend too much time around it and it will infect you. Their small questions, are you sure? Isn't that too big? Who do you think you are? Each one is a thief of your energy. Each one a poison to your belief. And if you are not careful, their voices will become your voice. When I first sat with Andrew Carnegie, I did not tell him what I wanted to write. I did not boast of my plans. I listened. I received. I obeyed. And for 25 years, I built in silence before Think and Grow Rich reached the public. Had I spoken too soon, had I asked the world for its opinion, I would have been laughed into retreat. But because I guarded my vision, it survived. And when the world finally saw it, it was undeniable. Look at Thomas Edison. For years, he was mocked for his failures. Hundreds of times, his experiments ended in smoke and broken glass. But he did not run to the newspapers to defend himself. He did not waste his voice on critics. He continued in silence under the law of persistence. And when the light finally burned, the darkness surrendered. Results spoke louder than any defense. Henry Ford faced the same ridicule. Experts laughed at his idea for the automobile. His own engineers told him his vision for an 8-cylinder engine was impossible. But did he argue with them? Did he debate, plead, or seek approval? No, he simply said, build it anyway. And in silence, in persistence, he proved them wrong. His results silenced his critics forever. This is the truth. You do not need the world's approval. You do not need applause. You do not need validation. What you need is silence, faith, and relentless action. Because when the fruit is ripe, it needs no defense. When the tree stands tall, it proves itself. When your vision becomes reality, no one will question you. They will only wonder how you did it. So guard your vision. Do not expose it to the winds of idle conversation. Do not seek advice from the unqualified. Do not cast your pearls before those who cannot understand their value. Keep your purpose sacred. Speak it only to yourself, to your subconscious, to the infinite. Let your actions be your words. Let your results be your reply. Let your legacy speak in silence. Say this with me. I guard my vision with silence. I do not share with those who do not build. I finish what I begin, and I let my results speak for me. That is law. That is power. That is the discipline of kings. Now hear me closely, for this is where most men fail. They start strong. They speak of greatness. They dream of empires. But when the fire burns long, when the nights get heavy, when the progress slows, they stop, they fold, they quit, and their greatness dies in silence. Not because it was impossible, but because they refused to finish. Let me ask you, what is the value of a seed that is never watered? What is the worth of a foundation with no walls? What is the power of a dream half built? Nothing. It is dust. It is a waste. It is the graveyard of men who lacked endurance. Completion, that is the law. Not talking, not intentional, not even the beginning. Completion, it is the rarest of powers. It is the crown that only the relentless wear, for the world is filled with starters. The crowd is filled with men who begin with passion, but finishers are kings. Think of Abraham Lincoln. He carried the weight of a divided nation, mocked, doubted, betrayed, and surrounded by war and blood. Do you think he was tempted to stop? Yes, but he finished. He endured until the Union stood. His name lives not because he dreamed, but because he carried his vision all the way to completion. Look at Thomas Edison, 10,000 failures, 10,000 nights of fatigue and doubt. But he finished. He brought the light to the world, and no one remembers the failures. They remember the completion. Henry Ford laughed at, resisted, and mocked by his own engineers. But he did not quit. He finished. He brought his vision of the automobile to every man's driveway. That is why his name is carved into history. Do you see the pattern? The men you admire, the giants who built legacies, were not the smartest, not the most gifted, and not even the most favored. They were the ones who refused to stop until the vision was done. They were men of completion. And so I ask you, how many times have you quit just before the finish line? How many times have you let fatigue or doubt or the voice of fear stop you when greatness was only one step away? Most men give up at the edge of victory. They let the final mile defeat them. But you must not. You cannot. For the world is watching not your beginning, not your middle, but your end. Understand this. The subconscious mind only believes what you finish. Every time you complete what you start, you train your identity to obey. Every time you quit, you train your identity to betray. Completion is not just an act. It is a habit. It is the forging of steel in your soul. It is the seal that says, I am a man who does what he declares. So from this day, speak less, begin less, but finish everything. If you say you will rise early, finish it. If you say you will build, finish it. If you say you will change, finish it. Every act of completion, no matter how small, multiplies your power. Every unfinished promise, no matter how small, steals from it. Say this with me. I am not a man who quits. I am not a man who drifts. I am not a man who announces and does not deliver. I am a finisher. I am complete. I conquer. I close every chapter I begin. That is your law. That is your weapon. That is your new identity. And remember this, silence protects your vision. Structure builds it. Discipline sustains it. And completion crowns it. Without completion, all else is wasted. But with it, even the smallest vision can become immortal. Now I leave you with this command. Do not stop. Do not pause. Do not fold. Build in silence. Protect your purpose. Move with structure. And above all, finish. For the man who finishes is undeniable. The man who finishes becomes unshakable. The man who finishes cannot be ignored. Let your silence roar through your results, and let the world know without a single word that you were here and you completed what you came to do.